Hi everyone, this is Sarah, and today we're back on to Sharing Bravely into 2021 with Jagdeep. I'm super excited that she's here because we've only been talking a couple of weeks, but we've got a real connection, and she's got so much energy and positive vibe that I'm sure you'll love hearing a bit of her story. So thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much, Sarah. I'm so excited to be here today.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where are you based? And yeah, where are also you born? Because this is a discussion we've just been having. I think it's quite interesting for people to hear.
It is. So I was born in the UK, raised in Scotland. I moved to Scotland when I was 2. And we're laughing because we were just having a conversation about this. And then I moved to Vancouver, BC in 1998. So I was 17. I'm giving away my age here. And then that's where I started my family. I met my partner 4 years later. I have 2 kids now, and I'm still in Vancouver, BC. My kids now are 9 and 12. And that's a little bit about my background. So I went to primary school, high school in Scotland, which was amazing. I love Scotland. And yeah, that's kind of where I am now, all the way from Scotland. All the way
The
to
reason we're
Vancouver.
laughing was because we just had a bit of a conversation about this, because I was saying, well, I love Vancouver. I want to go visit Vancouver because it turns out that my grandmother was actually born in Vancouver, and we always thought she was Scottish, even my dad. So hence we've got, my part of the family doing it the other way around to what Jagdeep's done. So funny, it's not a normal kind of connection.
Well, it's funny, when I moved to Vancouver, I used to have like totally the Scottish accent, right? And now it comes out more when I speak to my brother, because my kids will look at me and go, why do you guys talk like that? But I came here and people would say, the Scottish, like when you talk, it sounds so funny because you don't expect like, someone of my nationality to come out with a Scottish accent and go, cheerio. So when I'd say cheerio, people would be like, what the hell is cheerio?
It's great. I mean, you could talk about also cultures and how you move between cultures for a long time, because obviously I'm in Germany and come from the UK. But I'd like our listeners to hear a little bit about you. What's important to you and how you would describe yourself so they get to know a little bit more about you?
Oh gosh, this could be such a rabbit hole. We all have such a story and a journey, don't we? So, what's important to me, honestly, is number one, I have to say, it took me a long time to learn this, but my self-care, really putting myself first and knowing that it's not selfish to do so, because for a long time it was all about everybody else. And what the wake up call for me was, it took me having a stroke to realize I needed to change something. I needed to put myself first. And it was waking up to the fact that I had 2 kids at that time who were 1 and 4. And they needed mom, right? So for me, it was we're always used to it. I always see my mom putting everybody else first, putting herself last. So you're raised around that conditioning and beliefs, and you want to do for everybody else, and then you're so exhausted and drained for yourself. And that's exactly what I was doing. I was being my mom. The home was perfect, the life was perfect, it was all perfect on the outside, but inside my body was screaming, and my health was just, deteriorating so much. So for me, it is so important to have my self-care in place. And people who know me, some of them are like, you're just crazy, because I wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning, and it doesn't mean everybody's got to wake up at 4. But for me, I love my mornings. And it's because it's the time before, the craziness of the day starts. The kids are up, then it just kind of goes. But for me to just get that me time in the morning, it's so phenomenal. Like I go into the day so energized, and it's just so important. Like I really do fill my cup, and then I go into the day and I'm ready. I'm ready for what's coming. So self-care is really important to me. Um, and what's so important as well is I work with women to empower them to really step into their power. Again, I did that in my own journey, to just put me first, because then I'm coming into life, coming into the day from that place of, I got me, I've taken care of my needs and me, and then I can go into the day, you know, from that nourished place. So it's really important for me to nourish me and then allow everybody else that space and you know, that energy too, because it is all energy. I'm all about energy. Energy is a big one for me.
So that must have been a real shock to have a stroke. How old were you?
I was 8 years ago. I was 31.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, it
That's a
was. And you
big
know, the
life
biggest
event.
shock for me was my daughter was 1 years old. And I was going through episodes of, I would just faint. It was kind of, you know, I see it would kind of come out of nowhere, but it wasn't coming out of nowhere. There was internal stuff going on. And one of my episodes, I woke up from, my daughter was sitting next to me. She couldn't crawl at the time. She was just sitting there. And then I had to kind of train my kids that if mom has these episodes of fainting, you got to go call the neighbor and blah, blah, blah. But my kids were 1 and 4. They were just babies,
Yeah.
you know? And so it was just a wake up call to go, oh my gosh, this is not normal. This is not okay. Something needs to change. And I put it off. Like I put off going to the doctors for so long to even get checked, because I was like, I don't have time. I don't have time to go to the doctors. I'll just keep living with this. Then went through all the testing and everything, and they're like, you had a stroke. And I kept going, like nothing. You know, it's crazy when you think of it.
Totally. So I love the kind of the emphasis you now put on nourishing yourself. So what do you do? What's your routine from 4 o'clock in the morning to nourish yourself before the day starts?
So I just started this new thing because I love implementing new things in, because I'm all about trying new things. I started this cold water therapy. It's only been like 4 days. But my normal routine is I get up in the morning and I do my gratitude. Like as soon as my alarm goes off, and it's funny because it goes off at 4 and I'm excited. You know, I'm like, yes. So the first thing I do is I place my hands on my heart before I even get out of bed. I've still got my eyes closed, place my hands on my heart, and I'm just like, thank you, thank you, thank you. Like really, I'm so grateful for waking up. And I just put that smile on my face, you know, even like when I first used to do this, I was like, oh my God, gosh, you know, it's 4 in the morning. But now I literally, and I faked it. I faked that smile, tricked my brain. But now I'm like, put my hands on my heart, gratitude, smile, thank you. And I go to the washroom. But as I'm walking to the washroom, you know, normally the thing is our brain starts going, I got to do this, I got to do that. I have my phone on airplane mode at night. So I'm not, you know, when I'm putting my alarm off, I'm not seeing all the messages there. So I'm not even touching my phone. I turn off my alarm. I'm walking to the washroom. As I walk to the washroom, every footstep, thank you, thank you, thank you. Just the gratitude just starts. Then I go in there and do my morning routine. And as I'm doing that, I've got some kind of meditation or just a positive, you know, affirmation just playing as I'm doing this. So I'm programming my brain for that. I've got sticky notes all over my house, my bathroom mirrors, got sticky notes. So, you know, I'm seeing them. It's my brain is reading them and I'm doing all that. And then I go downstairs and I'll have my glass of water. And then I get my, I do cards, like, you know, I do my cards for my message for the day. I do my journaling, my affirmations, like I write, you know, what I want to call into my day. I'm grateful for, I do my gratitude, grateful for 5 things. And then I just kind of, it's different every day. I can be doing like a 21-day meditation. So I go through that. I do my prayers. I do, what I do is I do a lot of energy work. So I kind of clear the energy field around, I start with myself. So I clear and card cut and clear the energy from the day before. Sometimes I'll do this at night as well. But in the morning, I almost prep myself and my kids for the day. So I clear our energies, I recalibrate our chakras, and then I put like energy bubbles around us so that my kids are still sleeping at this time. So I'm, you know, putting these energy bubbles around them so that we're going into the day protected, cleared, and just kind of ready. And then from there, I just do like, you know, I'll make my cup of tea or whatever I want to do, but I'm going into the day now kind of ready and protected and nourished, you know? And I don't find my cup of tea as nourishing as I find my morning routine. My cup of tea now kind of becomes, now I'm going into the world. So then when I turn my phone off airplane mode, I usually take a deep breath because I'm like, okay, here comes the world. So that's how I kind of start my day off, is just all me, but it just feels so good.
That's really interesting. It's like, now I'm ready for the world. I've like laid my foundation. I'm feeling like that I'm prepared, and now consciously allow the rest of the world in. So what is it about what you do with others now? What's important about that to you? Because you kind of touched on, this is what I do with myself, but this is also what I now do with others. So what's important about that?
What's so important about that is, I mean, I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I went for a dinner with someone that I met, like just kind of through all the things that I do. So we went for dinner finally, and we got out of that. And when we went, when I dropped her back off at home, and you know, her kids saw her, they said, "Oh my God, what did you do to our mom? She's like glowing and she's got so much energy." So we had a dinner, it was beautiful, and she just kind of, we just talked, right? But she said, I feel so empowered and ready for this new journey in my life. All we did was just kind of talk, but we're so used to shutting down the things that we feel. And it's really tapping into, it's not even going into, I mean, we went for dinner, we were 2 hours, a bit longer than we wanted to, but when you start talking, you know. But what's important is for, she recognized herself. Like she went, she must be close to 50 now, I think. And she said, I went back to when I was 18 and realized, oh my God, I've been holding on to these things from when I was 18 that are so long gone, but I'm still in the story of that. And what happened to her when she was 18 was, she was just told, it's okay, you're fine, don't worry about it, let it go. So, but her emotions didn't want her to let go, and her body was like, no, it doesn't feel right. So I introduced her to, when you go home tonight, after, you know, your kids are in bed, kind of, you're ready for bed, take some time to write that 18-year-old a letter and tell her all the things that you wish your mom had said to you, or you wish you told yourself. And she was just like, I cannot wait to go home, get my kids in bed, and start working on myself. And even last night, she messaged me around 11 o'clock and she said, I am so excited for this new journey. And it just, that empowers me and just makes me feel so good. Like that gives me energy. It's kind of like with my work. When I get off a call, I'm never like, oh, okay. I'm so energized going, yes, another person stepping into their power and just bringing those pieces of themselves back to themselves that they've left. You know, we've left that 18-year-old somewhere. We've left that 12-year-old somewhere. Calling back those pieces of yourself now with more wisdom is, I just love it.
It's amazing. No, I love what you're saying, because you know, helping open somebody else is such a satisfying experience. So, and I also end up energized by the work that I do, but helping other people recognize you can be energized by work. It doesn't have to be difficult. But you know, there's all these things that you're doing, but where are you perhaps still too hard on yourself? Where can you not laugh at yourself?
Ah, gosh. Am I allowed to say parenting?
Yes, let's keep it real.
You know, with my kid, I mean, I truly believe our kids, I mean, they picked us, right? They are our biggest teachers. They're the most, the love is so great, the unconditional love that we have for them, that they have for us. But they're also the ones that bring us to our knees like nobody else can. And I say, every gray hair of mine has my kids' names on it. You know what it is? It's the emotional attachment that we have, right? So I do all the work I do, I actually do it with my kids as well. So this, you know, intuition, my kids are so intuitive, because whenever they're going through anything, I ask them, where do you feel it in your body? So they've gotten so used to that they will just now be like, I feel that in my solar plexus, or I feel that in my throat. And when, when we have a conversation and we feel our throat kind of closing or our voice changing, we know something's going on. Either I want to say something or, whatever. My daughter, whenever she'll go for a visit or visit with her dad or somewhere that she doesn't want to be, she comes home and she says, my throat chakra is closing, Mom. And I love it. She's only 9. And I'm like, I love it. So I'm like, what do you need to tell me? And she just starts talking. She'll just talk and say, this is what I wanted to say. This is what I didn't say. And she starts talking and she goes and then she'll drink her water and she's like, I feel so good now. And I'm like, yes. But it took a lot of work. It took a lot of work, but good work. That when you can see, okay, it's working. All these gray hairs and these wrinkles are worth it. So definitely parenting is where I go, oh my gosh, am I doing the right thing? But
I think that's the question any parent asks themselves is, am I doing the right thing?
But when we even look at a 6-month period and we see how even the little snippets of the things that the kids say or whatever, we know we're doing the right thing. We really do. And it's all a journey. Is it ever a journey?
Totally. So what is the piece of advice? I was going to say that you wish you knew a year ago, but maybe what's the piece of advice you wish you could have told your 10-year-old self?
Well, even a year ago, honestly, the piece of advice I would really give myself is everything passes. It never stays the same. Don't get too caught up in the good or the bad, because the bad, or what we want to label as bad, it passes. The good, it passes. It all passes. But when we get too stuck in any of it, we're losing our energy into that, and then we get so caught up. And then we look back, like even if it's something that happened yesterday, I mean, never mind a year ago, even yesterday, you kind of look and go, oh gosh, I could have just, here we are today. We've passed through that. So anything I say, everything does pass. Just settle down.
Actually, there's something that you're saying here, which I think actually needs to come out, which is actually it's us that labels this stuff as good and as bad. We judge it.
Yeah.
So kind of say a bit more about that, because that's really interesting. It's something that obviously I've been working with some of my clients, but I'd love to hear your perspective on that.
So I have a podcast as well, which is Compassion Before Judgment. And the reason that kind of came up was just me observing all the judgments that, first of all, we put on things, right? And then just the judgments in the world. We judge everything. We judge the way we do things. We judge the way other people do things. We judge our thoughts. We judge our emotions. That's a good emotion. That's a bad emotion.
Yeah.
I shared this with the mom that I went to dinner with last night, and she got emotional and she said, oh my God, this is so bad. And I said, but why is it bad? It's an emotion. Because if you were laughing, you would never question it. But if you're crying, you go, oh my God, this is bad. It's not bad.
Oh my goodness, this is so funny, because I'm working with someone and they start crying or they get emotional. I'm really sorry. It's like, no, please don't apologize for getting emotion. The emotion needs to be there. It's telling us something, what's here. And people are taken aback because it's such a thing in society that, we shouldn't cry, we shouldn't show our emotions. And actually, like what you're saying is we actually just need to listen to things openly and non-judgmentally and allow them to be without trying to force everything we're trying to do into good, bad,
Well, it's the duality of everything, right? Is hot good or is cold good, or which is good, which is bad, right? So I mean, look at everything has another side. So it's night and it's day. It's dark and it's light. Which one's good? Which one's bad? So why is an emotion happy is good, sad is bad, right? So when we just release that, we almost take such a weight off ourselves, going, I'm allowed to feel.
And also the rainbow that's in between these two places is always, I often hear people saying, well, it's either here or it's here. Like, no, there's a whole rainbow in between. And how do we open up that kind of the possibilities in between to allow people to say, it's not flip-flopping.
No.
You've got all this possibility in there. So I love that. So moving on from that into if you could, what's your wish for the world in 2021? What is that thing that you say, if that was to happen, that would just be amazing?
I want to say the Great Awakening, where everyone awakens, but that's not that's down the road. But the reality is, if we can all just take care of ourselves, not in a selfish way, like it's not selfish. If we can all feel our feelings, we allow others to feel their feelings. Like, whether it comes to parenting, whether it comes to a partner, whether it comes to siblings, if we all feel our feelings, we allow others to do that, and we are allowed to feel. So if we all just started with ourselves and said, I'm allowed to feel what I feel. And this was something I had to teach my mom, is, bless her heart, she's amazing. But I had to teach her that I'm allowed to feel what I feel. And that actually, now I see my mom allowing herself to feel the things that she feels. And I'm like, yes. And this is where we say, our kids teach us, right? Here's me allowing my mom to go, you're allowed to feel that, Mom. You don't have to judge it. It's okay. And I'm allowed to feel it. Let's just all feel what we feel without giving it a label, without judging it. I think that would be my big wish, is just like when someone apologizes to me as well, they're like, oh, sorry. And I'm like, what did you do? And they're like, oh, it's just a habit. I'm like, right, you don't have to apologize. You didn't do anything. It's so freeing, right?
Yeah,
and it's
true.
It seems like such a small thing, but it's really such a big thing, because we're so used to apologizing. Like we say, oh, I'm sorry I'm late. How about thanks for waiting? It just changes the energy around, right? Because you didn't do anything wrong. You really didn't.
No. But this is an interesting part in terms of our own self-talk and how we talk to others is actually sort of we're talking to ourselves like this, but usually a lot stricter. And if we can shift the way we talk to ourselves and talk to ourselves more nicely, we free up, we create energy for ourselves rather than draining ourselves of energy. So I love what you're saying there.
Well, it's giving ourselves the compassion that we want to give everybody else, right? Because when we are not compassionate with ourselves, we could be compassionate with others, but we come back and we're bitter or we're resentful because we haven't given ourselves that compassion, and then we expect it from others.
Totally.
Why don't we start with ourselves, and then we almost teach people how to give us what we need, and we can give them what they need, instead of expecting everybody to read our minds.
I was driven for a long time by keeping everybody else happy, and you end up in some ways resenting other people because you think, well, why is nobody doing this for me? And actually turning on its head to recognize that point, to say, actually, I have responsibility for myself to keep myself happy, and then I can help everybody else, is a real kind of what was a real turning point for me, definitely.
Yeah,
so
it's a real
looking at it
eye-opener,
from this kind of place of you and putting yourself at the center for a second, what's your wish for yourself this year?
My wish for myself. I think, really to continue on this journey that I'm on, because I really can say for the first time in my life, and I just hit 40. So the first time in my life, I am so content with where I am. There's always growing to do, and I'm always growing and evolving, but I'm so content with where I am and releasing all of that. Like, I went through anxiety attacks. I was in and out of the hospital, all of that. And it was just about a couple of weeks ago, I was sitting doing my morning practice, and I thought, to be free of all of that and just sit here and go, wow, I worked through so many things, and I'm so proud of myself. And my wish is just that continue to keep doing what I'm doing, and it's allowing me to give that support for others. So honestly, my wish is just stay on my path, stay in my lane, not get caught up in what other people are doing or what they should be doing. This is my soul journey. I'm here for this, and just keep doing, like I say, I said this to someone yesterday and he said, well, that can be taken either way. I'm like, that's fine. Take it any way you want. I always say, you do you and I'll do me.
Right.
You know, like
Yeah.
just keep taking care of myself the way I am so that I can provide for those around me.
See, this is what I find amazing is I think if we could really get everyone to step into exactly this, of looking after themselves and stepping into, what's important to them and their strengths that they have, then, imagine the world that we could build
Oh,
around us, the problems that we could solve by people actually stepping up into, this is who I am and I'm proud of it.
yeah.
I find
Yeah.
that
Just
so
connecting
empowering.
back to themselves, right? Those
Yeah.
pieces that we've left, just connect back to yourself. But it's so scary. It's scary for people to face that fear, right?
Yeah.
But it's like anything, when we run from it, it keeps chasing us. But when we just stand and we face it, we're naming it, we're facing it, and then we work through it. It's so beautiful. It's not easy. Not gonna pretend and say it's all it's not easy, but it's so empowering. And you are guaranteed breakthroughs anytime you face that fear. And it doesn't have to be huge, and the other thing with this healing journey is we always think everything has to be rough. And I used to think this myself. Oh, it's going to be a rough couple of days because I've done some inner work. And I actually shifted my thinking and mentality around that as well. I just asked the universe, just be gentle on me. And you see that shift, because you're not going, oh, I'm going to have a rough few days. You say, I'm going to work through this. I'm going to do those salt baths. I'm going to take those walks. You're gentle with yourself instead of going, this is going to be rough. Right?
Exactly. So again, it's this inner self-talk, isn't it? What we ask for appears. If we expect it
Yeah.
to be rough, we're going to live into that, making it rough for ourselves. So I like that, sort of being kind to ourselves and allowing ourselves permission to be kind and gentle, as you put it, with ourselves. So what would
Yeah.
you say has been your one inspiration, like either a podcast or a book or something which you can give our listeners to kind of go away and yeah, learn from?
I mean, my podcast is great because it's got different people on there, different guests on there. And with that, I always ask the speakers to share something that the listeners can take away and implement right away. So I would say with that, and the episodes are about 20 to 30 minutes. Sometimes we go to 40, but never over that. But there's always something in there that you can take away and try right away. So I would say that, because it's different. It's not just me, it's everybody coming and sharing what works for them. So there's always something different that works for everybody. So just take away whatever's in there. If you feel called to implement it, try it out. I mean, I had a feng shui consultant on there who shared something to do in your house that day. I mean, that's something that we don't think about,
Yeah,
right? So
totally.
it's all, I would say the podcast, definitely, if you want to hear all different people kind of speaking on the same thing, is all compassion before judgment, but it's all our different takes on it. So take away what you feel is your thing.
I like that. And this is one of the things that I kind of almost comes back to when I became a mother overnight. And all these people all of a sudden started giving me advice. And actually, to give yourself permission to say, I'll take what works for me, but actually, the rest I'm just going to, appreciate, but not necessary. And it's like this, isn't it? What can help you? And only each of us can decide what can help us.
Exactly.
And
And there might be something that we hear that we think about 2 years down the road or 2 months
yeah.
down the road, and we say, oh, I can bring that in now. So there's
Right, it's
always
like building the pieces of the puzzle to find what works for you and what might help you make that next step.
exactly. Yeah.
Oh, love it. Love it. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, as always. I
Yeah.
always leave our conversations feeling energized, which is the
Yeah,
whole
me
point for me.
too.
So
Yeah.
thank you so much for being present. Thank you for sharing with the listeners. And for all of you listening, I will put Jagdeep's details underneath. If you want to get in touch with her, listen to her podcast, then please do. So
Yeah,
take
thank you
care.
so much, Sarah. Thanks for everything that you do, and thanks for the energy that you bring, because it really is all about the energy. So thank you so much for this platform.
Take care. Speak to you soon.
Okay, bye.